Go and just create a new one here. Let's go ahead. Tabloid, create, and start. Okay, so again, what if we wanted to actually work with doing those kind of portraiture style vector illustrations? So it'd be, working with the face and tracing it. So just like we've done before. Just skip this all. There we go. And then, okay. So here's a great example. Now, again, it doesn't just have to be a black and white photo if we're doing the portraiture. And this is how we can even get, like I said, those t-shirt graphics, poster graphics, album art. Maybe you're a photographer and you want to be able to make like a wedding print or a t-shirt or something out of a portrait. But the process is pretty much simpler, as I've discussed so far, where we get an image. Now, I like this image basically because it's got high contrast. So it's got true white, it's got true black, and a couple values of gray in between. The same thing would be applying if I actually found a decent photo that I could then, even in Photoshop, convert it to a black and white, play around with the levels to get this level of quality. But essentially, the process is not that different that I've shown you so far, because when I zoom in here, you can see where I can get some variable. Go ahead, I'm gonna use my blob brush here and turn it black. Okay, let me make it just a little smaller. Now, again, I could use the blob brush, I could use the pen tool, I could use just about anything here. Let's go ahead and turn it to 3 and round like so. So all I'm gonna do here though, is just like we've done before, is just kind of trace the shapes. Pardon me, Snoop. So get his nose here. Trace out his mustache. And I'm just looking at the shapes that are here as if I, again, was to be cutting this out of a piece of construction paper to create the design. Or again, you can think of like a stencil. If I was going to airbrush them or something like that. And group, release compound path. Now remember, that gives me an inside and an outside shape where I can choose which one I want. And just thinking in terms of shapes to keep or cut out. And I could just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Same thing can be done now, especially if I maybe want to do this on a new layer instead of that same layer. I'll go with the white shapes. And again, whatever tool works best for that. And thinking in terms of what are the shapes of the most white. And you can even start to see where I'm going with this, because you can almost say, oh yeah, well, then I can do some feather maybe to it, or just add another value of gray in between, or I could just have the shape of the entire face, let's say, be a single value of gray, or I could say, hey, no, I'm going to print this on a gray t-shirt, so all I need is the black and white. And slowly but surely start to think about those shapes that are there. I just so happen here have, I think, a progress version of this. Where you can see, here I've got, more layers of the black done and whatnot. I guess I thought I had a more advanced version than that one. Oh, well. But this could be done with anything in the world. Like I said, you could do portraiture of your dogs. You could do portraitures of, animals, pictures, flowers, and you get that, again, that kind of cutout effect. So let's go ahead and just choose like a medium gray version here. And I know I'm kind of shortening it a bit than what it actually is. But I don't want to take too much time on this. Release. That gives me an inner and an outer. But you can see how I'm slowly building this up, thinking in shapes to get the effect that I'm kind of going for there. And if we go and like I showed you last week, if you go and you look up a lot of vector illustration, there's a lot of this there. And this is how we can kind of do this kind of illustration. It's similar to what we're dealing with there with the with that cat that, you know, yeah, I could not do it as a straight up, you know, image trace or live trace, but I could place that kitten there. And then think about, just like I've shown you already, see, let's just choose a white. And, you know, define the white shapes only. Now you're noticing one thing I'm doing as I'm doing this here is I'm not worrying so much about, you know, the hair and the fur, because we do even have some additional tools that we can play with, which I have yet to show you. So let me just quickly just throw down some value. Let's go ahead and pick like this gray value here, for example. So I'm going to show you some cool tools that are also available to us. Again, I'm just looking for that value of gray. As if I was trying to cut this out in a construction paper. Because we do have some pretty cool additional tools to play with here. Show you this release. Okay, so I'm simplifying it down. Now, why did I do this? Is because let's say you think you're going to take a pen tool or a blob brush tool and worry about all these little hairs, right? Well, that would take forever. It's kind of like when we were cutting this out of in Photoshop, and I said, just go right through the hair, and then after you're done, you can go back and pull some hair back out. Well, we have some additional tools here, okay? And for some reason, I'm not getting all my tools here. Let's see, window. I need to find another tool. Graphic styles, no. Oh, let's go with basic to advanced. There we go. Now I've got the tools I was looking for before. Remember, I was looking for some of these other additional tools. And what I'm going to do under this width tool here, you see we've got a couple neat tools here. There's width, there's warp, there's twirl, okay, there's crystallize, there's wrinkle. And I'll just start with the wrinkle tool here. Maybe make it just a little bit smaller. And when we have something selected here, like I've got this edge, simply by dragging that on there, you see I can break up a clean line to make it look more rough. I can do that with the crystallize tool. See? Now, I'm trying to think of what's the shortcut key. Oh, okay, look at that shortcut key I just found. It's an Alt, drag, and that allows me to come in and make the brush smaller on the fly without having to double click the panel. But you see how I'm able to get this to now be and it's giving me neat little spiky effects where I otherwise would be almost impossible to draw. Okay. To get subtle details to get that illusion of jaggedy hairs or something like that. And just to show you quickly here, if I just grab a simple ellipse, that. Let's go ahead and make it a bright color. We can see that all these different tools. So I already showed you the wrinkle tool. And again, wherever you drag that along the edge, it will wrinkle that edge. And there's even values where you can control just how much it wrinkles. Showed you the crystal tool, which can either, I can crystal in, see that? Or if I'm inside, I can crystal outward. There's a scallop tool. You see, I can scallop inward or scallop outward. That's simply pulling it towards the brush. There's a bloat tool. I can bloat outwards or bloat inwards. See? I can pucker. And a pucker can either pucker towards, or if I'm inside, can pucker that way towards it. There's a twirl tool. You just go over your area, hold in the button, and it will twirl. And give you some really, because again, that would be very difficult, right? To draw with a brush or a pen tool. But here, using these neat little additional tools, even warp, simply allows me to push and warp. See that? So it's like a finger painting where I'm just warping this, physically taking it and warping it to give it, you know. So if you let's say you draw very like simply, like you're drawing cartoon characters and you want to kind of get that warpy Ren and Stimpy, which is kind of what that reminds me of, you can get that effect. Now the width tool, you see, doesn't work because I have no strokes. If I were to put a stroke on here, put something you can see, and this properties and make it thicker. So I should have selected it first. Okay, so I now have a stroke here. The width tool can be used to then width, widen, or narrow the thickness of that stroke. So if I was just going to do something really simple here, right? So I was like, click, 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 click. I currently have a stroke on that. Maybe I make it 1, 2 points so it's a little bit thicker. Then I can come to this thickness value here and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of weight to this edge. A little bit of weight to that edge, maybe make it a little bit more narrowed down here. See, and you can then designate between these clicks the profile of that stroke. Just remember, in the end, you're going to want to do a path, outline stroke, to then get it. I guess I have to ungroup it, to then get the stroke be a shape as well as the inner be a shape. So just some cool additional little tools here. Like I said, remember, all I had to do is go into Window Toolboard or Toolbars and say Advanced instead of Basic, and it gave me a lot more of these. For example, we're going to use this shape builder here in a second. And a lot of this stuff, guys, are simple Adobe tutorials that you can find just about Adobe TV. You can find it on YouTube. And they're just basic examples of tutorials kind of going through this process. Here. Unlock that later. Hide it. Because there's a lot of cool little tools here. You know, I could come here and right? Let's go ahead and switch that to just being a stroke. Play around with its profile. Click and drag it. This is kind of neat here, where I can then take this, bind it. Okay, so I have this neat little, these two different strokes that are built from each other. And then I can use this blend tool to kind of say, hey, blend from that stroke to this stroke. You see it added one, or if I double click it, I can say how many steps I want. So I can say add 5 steps. And this is how you kind of get that kind of engraved kind of effect. Like imagine if this was said to be, you know, dashed. And then I change it to like a round cap dash. So if we were trying to get that like kind of engraved dollar bill kind of effect, we're doing shading. You can see how I can make some cool effects there. And then I can keep and take away by simply, again, going to my object and offset path to make it now be a fill instead of a stroke. And that's pretty neat as well. All right, moving along. What is this Fibonacci technique for logos? Well, I'm going to use a Google search here, Fibonacci. Just type in Fibonacci to show you what the heck Fibonacci is. Some of you, again, if you've taken certain geometry classes or other art classes, that you can see, again, Fibonacci is the high math that exists in nature. It's called the golden ratio. And you see the basic grid here shows you how you can work the high math. And it's kind of the, for example, typography. When you look at those weird numbers for the size of a font and they just go up in a random value. It's not a random value. It's a Fibonacci value where it goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 8 and so on to 21 to 34. And that is what Fibonacci is. And it's in tree branches. It's in nature. It's in, you know, a lot of, you know, just basic weather patterns of geometry. Now, if I say Fibonacci logo, you're going to see examples of, like here, where the Apple logo is actually based upon true Fibonacci. And there's other examples here. Design a logo with the golden ratio spiral. Okay? And so you're just using these circles that exist to create it. Now, there's also video tutorials out there that walk us through this. Let me go ahead and just show you in a nutshell what this basically is made up of. Okay, so I'm going to place a couple things here. One, I'm going to place, I just found this online, this little example of what Fibonacci is. Now, it may not be perfect here. This is sometimes where, again, just because it's been saved as a JPEG doesn't mean someone squashed or stretched it. So what I need to do is just make a perfect square, make sure, go ahead, just do that, just to see it. Make sure this is perfectly square because it may not be. Looks pretty accurate though. And you see that is pretty much perfectly square, okay? Because to work with Fibonacci, specifically when you see a lot of times it's Fibonacci, but it's based upon circles or curves. So what do we do to actually make this work? I'm going to go ahead and lock it. Go ahead and choose my ellipse, which is just going to be, again, maybe I'll change this to being a brighter color so we can actually see it, is shift create perfect circles that fit within this Fibonacci equation. Okay. And then what you do is you can then get examples of all these circles that are the proper Fibonacci ratio. See that? And they fit inside their perfect little grids here. And that means that when we make a logo using these circles, right? I'll just stick with that for now. That these are following the true golden ratio in terms of how they relate to each other. Now let's have some more fun. Let's go back here, unlock this, select this layer, and I'm going to place. So let's assume that, you know, you want to design a logo following that Fibonacci method. Now these were actually, they used a compass to actually do this, but you could actually just use any basic concept or photo, because I've done this for logos for people before where, I don't know, you find a photo of a chicken, but then you recreate that chicken using only this geometry. Let me go ahead and lock it, switch it. Okay, so what do I need if I'm going to do this? Well, I definitely know that these are all a little large. So let me go ahead and just shrink them equally until maybe I get the largest to be, I don't know, let's go with this one in the middle. Okay. And now it's just a matter of using these, right? I'm going to simplify down. So I might want to take this one and say, yeah, well, that's kind of the arch on his nose here. And I'm just holding Alt and drag. Also, the front of his nose here, this one here. Let's go ahead and use that for the tip of the nose. And we want these edges to touch. Let's say this might be, no, I don't know, I don't think I need that one. Let's say this one. Yeah, see, that's the end of the ear. Looks like it might be an essence here of some of the tail. Maybe, well, let's say this leg here, this hind leg, which means it might very well be this front portion of this leg. And all I'm doing is replacing my drawn work with these perfect circles. Now it's going to get a little muddy. That I'm going to get a little bit of muddy here. All I need is this big one here. And you can see, yeah, it almost needs to be a bigger version of that. Now I don't have it because I did not do the, I shrunk it down to the smallest, but I'm just going to guess here, guys. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to guess, yeah, that's the ratio of the next size. But don't guess. That's why it's called Fibonacci. No guessing. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I did have that big one. It was right here. That's right. Okay. So I have all the dog here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this extras. So I have the dog all made up of all the proper Fibonacci angles and arch, right? So I'm going to select them all. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to use this thing called a shape builder. I think I may have shown you this last week. But the shape builder, when I hover over sections of this geometry, I've got a plus sign. And that means keep this. I also, if I hold in the Alt, will get a negative sign. So I'm going to say I don't need these or that. I don't need any of these. I don't need any of these or these. That. See? And I'm just subtracting that from the shape build. I don't need those two or those, that, or this. Oops. Hold on, let me undo. I somehow got rid of. Yeah, I want that one. So maybe this is the time to use add. Yeah, see what the problem is there? Is that the curves here are not aligning properly. It's probably that one right there. I'll just add that to it. That should work now. Let's go back to shape builder. Add, oops, make sure we select them all. There we go. See, I want to add this to that, this to that, to here, to there, there. I did forget that one ear. That's okay. I can keep up and add that ear after the fact. Okay. Let's take away these, this one, these here. And you see, I pretty much get my dog there. Hold on, let's make sure it's grabbed that. Let's go ahead and move it out of the way to see what we have. And now it just has some simple cleanup here where I can clean these up. But really, it's the outside shape that I wanted that follows that Fibonacci model. Remember, here inside our, see? I don't even have it here. Oh, okay, that's okay. Like I said, you want to explore this, you can go to videos, Fibonacci, logo, Illustrator. There's tons and tons of YouTube videos that show how to use this golden ratio and how to then, so if you want to pursue a graphic design career, you want to be able to make dynamic logos that are modern and slick. You can even go and you can look at logos, the before and after that show you, you know, this method, see, where you're making the circles from the grid, how to put it over a sketch, just like I showed you, and then how to use some of these other tools to kind of make it work for you. See that? So again, not making this up. All right. This thing, let's just do this, close that down, because we are now on our last little element here, which is, again, these websites that allow us. So again, you could always just type in vector artist needed. It's like we did image manipulation artist needed, or digital painter, you know, and you can find these sites like freelance sites, you know, vector design services, what local jobs. See, remote concept and vector artist needed in Clearwater, posted 12 days ago. Remote, which means you can work from home. Okay, see, ZipRecruiter, you can see what they basically pay. Not that that's anything to, you know, Upwork is another freelance site. But a lot of times what you find, like I said, is people that are just like, hey, I have a graphic, I have a t-shirt design, or I have a logo, but they need me to send it to them in a vector file. And you basically say, yeah, it'll be $40. Okay, well, you saw with the image trace that you could really quickly just do an image trace and be able to do that same kind of effect. Now, be aware though, when you get into multi-colors, I think I've got one logo here. Yeah, I'll use the Buccaneers logo here. Okay, because what do? And this is where we're gonna get next week when we get into After Effects and we start playing around with animatable logos. What if you've got a logo that's made up of multiple colors? Well, for one thing, I'm going to move it over there just so I have a duplicate in case I need it. Properties, image trace. Now, black and white's not going to work. So I'm going to have to choose some limited colors here. Let's try with 3 colors. And it's going to guess and try to trace using 3 colors. Now, again, that's just my graphics card, just saying, hey, this is a little large. Okay, and you see, oh, that worked with 3, but I lost all the black. It gave me gray, white, and red, not 3 colors. So let's go ahead, hit this option button here that gets us into here. And let's try adding 5 colors. No, not 22. Stop. Stop. Uh-oh. Stop. All right, let it finish. Yeah, 130 colors is too much. I want 5. I want to keep it simple, right? Vectors are single values. All right, well, there it did it as 5. Now, it didn't give me an orange football, but everything else out looks pretty good. So, and I'm not going to ignore the white because I've got white in there. So I'll hit expand, ungroup, and now I've got to start to clean this up. So I know I've got all this white background to get rid of. Let's get rid of that. But don't forget, I see it happen all the time. People get sloppy and they forget to take out these inner parts. I see this professionally done all the time, even on TV with commercials. They'll cut out the white background, but they'll forget about the little white inside of the fonts. See, there's even a little gray here that I could probably get rid of. But now we get to that issue of, all right, well, the football is not the right color. Well, select it, use the original to grab that color. And just like that, I've got some edges here to deal with. Get rid of the original. Just like that, I have vectorized a logo. But when we get into the world of, let's say, animation, we're going to want to do a couple more things here to finish out this composition. For example, object arrange, send to current layer. If the word Buccaneers is going to animate at a different timing than the rest, it needs to be on its own layer. Just like the word Tampa. Object arrange, send to current layer. Bay, oops. New layer, object arrange, send to current layer. And then I've got the flag here to put on its own layers. So that when I bring this into, like I say, After Effects, each thing I want to animate on its own is on its own layer. So I can animate it coming together. I can animate it flying apart. Not to mention, I can make quick changes on the fly and be like, yeah, you know what? We want to do it this way, right? For a horizontal layout. So I can literally then have it animate out. Let's just group it. So I could literally have this off-screen group, so that if you think about, well, let's have some fun here. Let's just do this and just imagine this now when we're inside After Effects where we've got a black screen, right? And we're going to animate this logo appearing on screen. So this is the screen. We can literally say, you know, whoops, we can simply animate this in on its own layer. Object arrange, send it back. Here we go. This can fly in. What are you on? Oh, I see what you did. You need to be on your own layer. Object arrange, send it layer, bottom. Okay, lock it. But I can then animate this coming in, this coming in, this coming in, and then this coming in, right? Because they're on their own layers. Now, Photoshop, when we copy and paste or cut and paste, it automatically will place it on its own layer. So in Photoshop, you could do the same thing of separating a logo or a graphic that way, or a cartoon, a character to animate. But in Illustrator, you need to specifically break it up into its individual sort of layers. Now, one more thing. So we go new. Again, I don't have to get fancy with this. Let's say, I wish I would have kept that fish, but I didn't. So let's see about placing something quick and painless here. How about that? Let's just go with this one. Okay, so we got a graphic. This could be the fish. This could be your illustration. This could be your logo. I'll quickly do an image, black and white here. Option. That looks good to me. Expand and group. Let's get rid of the white border. Don't forget about that white border. Just quickly put it to some color variation. Go ahead and, like I said, this was the tool I was looking for earlier now, which is called Live Paint Bucket, where if I hover over with the Live Paint Bucket, I can go to swatches, choose a swatch, click, choose a swatch, and click. Choose my swatches and click. See that? Because it's all been separated. And you get a pretty nifty kind of result there. See that? Kind of, like I said, it's kind of like, I mean, this is essentially those coloring book apps, guys. where you're using vectors and then you're just choosing a color and clicking to paint by number or whatever. All right, so let's imagine this right now is a cool graphic that we want to put on some swag or some merchandise. I'm going to save this off as though. I'll call this, let's call this t-shirt sample or something like that as an AI. Okay, let's try file, save as t-shirt sample as a PDF. I'll just choose smallest file size to super high quality. And let's try doing this as EPS. So I just saved it in 3 common vector versions, right? Because there's a place here on the line called Cafe Press. There's also Vistaprint. If we go into the site, it allows you to upload your artwork, okay? So I can go to create your own and pick something, clothing, right? T-shirts, women's t-shirts, kids' shirts, baby pillows, home decor, accessories, keychains, puzzles, stickers and signs, right? Stickers, you can probably load. I believe you can load a die cut. Just gonna stick here to clothing. And let's just choose something silly here, like let's just say a t-shirt, right? And then you just say, okay, what t-shirt do you want to put it on? Oh, let's put it on this one here, okay? And then it says add an image, upload an image. Now, every one of these sites, though, have specific requirements for uploading your image. So let's try an AI first, meaning Adobe Illustrator format. And look at this progress. Slow, slow, slow. I guess I should. And I've had this problem with Cafe Press before where if the file's too large, it's like, eh. Let's try going back a step. Okay, so it really didn't like that AI, or at least maybe it would just take time. Let's try the EPS. Still taking a long time. Now, if I were to go into the descriptions of the uploading process, it would probably say, yeah, make sure your file is so large, you know, we don't like large files. Let's try the t-shirt PDF, right? The universal version here. Of course, I should probably be logged in because then it would probably be nicer, kinder, gentler. But I could literally I'll just let that run out there. And let's see here. Let's see Vistaprint. And again, Vistaprint. Uprint, there's lots of sites that do this now. That again, all you got to do is just choose, most, popular tote bags, vinyl banners, yard signs. Oh, look, masks. I'm going to use Vistaprint here. Come on. Make your own. And a lot of these sites, like Cafe Press and so on, allow you to actually make your own storefront. So you could literally start your own t-shirt company. Okay, design it yourself. There's even here one for the pros that I'll actually give you a template. Okay, all I got to do here is upload an image. Let's try let's see if Vistaprint likes any of these. Let's try t-shirt sample. Now you see the actual process. How's this one doing over here? Yeah, the PDF still isn't working. So this one's working though. Sorry, an error occurred. Of course it did. Let's try get creative. Watch, they both know that I'm on their site and they're like, we're not going to work with you on this one. Try the PDF. And these sites will make sure that you are using unlicensed. So you can't just make a Buccaneer mask on Vistaprint or on Cafe Press, because they will literally read it as, this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneer logo. You are not allowed to make your own t-shirts or masks with somebody else's logo. This actually looks like it's working with the PDF. And remember, I did say small file size. Maybe. There we go. And look at that. By default, it put it on a pattern. That's pretty cool. See that? And I can even drag and rotate to see what it would look like using that vector in a pattern. I could put it dead center. I could put it off center, right? You know, I can do mirrors. Okay, well, I don't like that mask color. I can change the mask color. See, I can pick standard colors here. And again, that's pretty goddamn neat that you can actually then do that, hit done, and order how many you want. See if this one ever caught up to me. No. So Cafe Press, this is where you can probably, you know, go to the design tools. Just looking to see what it says here as far as your upload requirements. Let's see here. That's just describing the t-shirt itself. Or it wants me to log in before I do this, maybe. That's just interesting that it gave me a hard time. With these. Yeah, it's still giving me a hard time. So Cafe Press is giving me a little bit of an issue here. But you can see right there how you can see your design on, again, I'm on Vistaprint now, and make, you know, anything you want. It's just like here inside of, you know, these are people already selling stuff, right? See, they even got other artists in here. And that's true. Just like when I design logos for people, I'll design a logo and then I will literally be like, oh, hey, they'll be like, do you do business cards? I'm like, sure. So I'll design their business card and I'll go to Vistaprint or wherever I go to make my card, lay it out, you know, and show it what it looks like actually on the cards, and I'll order them cards. And they'll be like, hey, well, do you make web graphics? And can we have this for the web? Sure. And so the next thing I know, one logo job that may have been a couple $100 has turned into $1,000 contract. And I'm now officially not just a designer, I'm a printer, because I'm ordering their business cards or t-shirts or whatever for them and having them shipped to them and charging them the cost. So I'm now officially my own t-shirt company, and I don't even have to have any facility or storage or anything like that. So neat stuff here. And again, if you ever want to dive deep into this, like I say, you design services, that's you paying them, labels and stickers. I'm just kind of curious to see. They do circles and squares, but will they do a die cut? Let's see. Maybe not. Well, that's an easy fix, right? What do? You type in a Google search and you say die cut stickers, where you upload your own design and they will say, hey, provide your offset path die cut thingy, right? Custom printers, you know, Vistaprint does do. Well, I don't see. There's Sticker Giant's the big company. Yeah, this is what a lot of people will use. And there they want the art, see, so they can cut the die cut to make it work. See, crack and peel backing. you know, and then you just basically would load the artwork and then the offset, right? The offset path version as a single vector. And then they're able to use that vector to cut them out using, I guess they use like a laser cutter or something like that. So, all right.